let's just dive straight in. So Aragon test went very, very well. Um, we know that you ran well there last year, even though the Ducatis had that top speed advantage. How are you feeling going into Aragon as the first round of this year? And do you think that the Ducatis are still going to have that speed advantage that they had last year?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we've definitely closed the gap because we have a stronger engine than 2020, and also aerodynamic package with the ZX10RRs changed quite a bit. So um, we've certainly made a step. Also, all the areas away from the changes to the 21 model, we've still improved the electronic side from chassis side. So all these little changes, I think, give us a better package. So of course, everybody moves forward in the off season. It's going to be interesting to see where we stack up. But yeah, I feel ready, quite excited for it, to be honest. So let's see.
Fair enough. So you mentioned some of the changes from the 21 bike versus the 20 bike. Are the steps that you've made quite significant, or is it small bits here and there that's just adding up quite nicely?
To be honest, it's small bits here and there, which mean overall, when you start putting all the pieces of the jigsaw together and building the package, it's a big step. But I mean,
Yeah.
from power point of view, we have a little bit more aerodynamics, we have a little bit more coverage. So, but everything together is a good step.
Okay, great. Well, I'm glad to hear it. Um, so now on the 2021 calendar, obviously with COVID and stuff, a lot of stuff has changed. But some new circuits have been added to the calendar, like Novara. How are you feeling about the new circuits? Have you tested there at all? Do you feel like the Kawasaki is going to go well there?
We haven't tested at Navarra or Most, but or Indonesia, obviously. But the idea is to test in Navarra.
Okay.
We're still looking at possibilities to do that, but right now I'm just open-minded. I'll go to a new track now, and we have a lot of experience here at KRT, and also just go into these races open-minded, because sometimes how you perceive a race is going to be because of the track layout or first impressions. It's not exactly how it rides. Do you know what I mean? So just go and
Yes.
see how it feels in FP1. Of course, it's always nice to have data to compare after practices, but it's exciting to go to new places, and I'm up for the challenge.
Fair enough. So this year, there's a lot of strong competitors from last year as well. We have the Hondas are looking quick this year, Leon and Alvaro. Ducati's obviously looking fast with Reading. Do you have someone in mind that you think is going to be your number one competitor this year?
Not really, to be honest, because in testing, there's been quite a few people have been fast. Last year, also there was, I can't quite believe it, but there was 7 race winners last year, which means
Yeah.
straight away you got 7 guys that have the potential to win races and more.
Yes.
So I think focusing on any single one person is wrong. Just focus on myself, and race by
Mm.
race we'll understand who that challenger is, or who we have to challenge, and
Yes.
then take it from there, really.
Okay, great. So the next question I want to ask you is, if there was one rider, it doesn't have to be a current rider in the paddock. It can be from your wildcards in GP or in the past, where you ride, let's say you're leading a race and you look at your pit board and it says, X rider point zero. Who is that one rider that you think, oh shit, that's the last name I want to see behind me on the last lap battle?
I don't know if we've actually raced against each other, but it would be Kenan Sofoglu,
Okay.
because he's 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 a rider that rides a lot on emotion, and on the last lap of the race you also have to ride with your brain,
Mm.
and he's super talented, so he can put himself in the front battle all the time. But for me, I would feel the most uncomfortable if it was Kenan.
Fair enough. So the next question is, I've seen like on your Instagram and things like that, you're doing a lot of motocross, a lot of cycling. Is there one particular training that you prefer over others? Like, do you prefer motocross or,
Oh,
you know, track training?
I do no track training really, but I enjoy motocross the most. But I don't feel like that's training. It's just something I do to disconnect.
Yeah.
But I do feel it's one of the best type of trainings. And I do a lot of work I started doing a lot of work at altitude as well on the bicycle, and that's really helped me this off season. And I quite enjoy
Yeah.
that because it's very hard.
Just pushes you a bit.
But yeah, honestly, I just turned 34, and I still really enjoy that side of it. In fact, I'm working more and more on that side.
Yes.
Trying to cling on to the dream, I'm getting old and I can see it starting to rinse out. So I'm trying to do the best I can to be here for as long as I can.
Yeah. That's awesome. Okay, now I want to ask you about a South African rider.
Yeah.
In the World Supersport paddock, Mr. Steven Rea. You had a good season last year, got up to a good team this year, championship winning team. How do you see Steven? Do you think he's got what it takes?
Yeah, I haven't followed Steven's career that closely, to be fair. But last year,
Okay.
World Supersport class is hotly contested, especially last year. Of course, what's his name? Locatelli was the standout performer, but after that,
Without a doubt,
there was so many people that could have been on the podium, and
yeah,
Odendaal was one of them. So it's going to be cool to see if he can make that progression to be a regular guy that's on the podium every weekend, battling for winning races. Because the thing is, in Supersport, you need to make that step, because the Superbike paddock or the Moto2 paddock, or they don't really care if you're just in there. You need to make the step and you need to make the progression. So
yes.
it would be amazing for South Africa if he can do that, because one of my fondest memories was being in Kyalami when I first went to Superbike. We went there and it was such a cool weekend. In fact, I think I got my first podium there. I think I did. I finished second to maybe Leon Haslam in 09. My first year on a Superbike, or it was 010. But one of my first ever tests on the Superbike was in Kyalami, and we stayed local to Kyalami circuit and made some great friends there and had an amazing time. So it would be so cool if he can do well for South Africa, and then we could maybe in the future go revisit that. And
yeah, it would be fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got two more questions for you. So I know you're short for time, but I want to ask you about Anna Carrasco.
Yeah.
So I know you guys have become quite good friends over the last couple of years, and of course she had that horrible back injury not too long ago. She's looking strong. She's looking fit. What do you reckon her prospects are for the year? Well,
it's the Supersport 300 class is possibly the most competitive class in the World Championship, because it's super chaotic. You always have to be in the right place at the right time. And okay, there's an element of that, and also luck in the race results. Now, Anna's been world champion in the past, and I'm 100% sure she can do that again. But all these kids are fast, and everything has to work, right, and fall into place. And I think through these last tests, they're trying to build on that. I've no doubt that she's going to fight for the podium and for race wins this season. And I'm crossing my fingers she can fight for the title. So yeah, full support for her. It's incredible, the story, first being the first female world champion in road racing, and then coming back from that, like a career-ending injury. I'm sure most doctors in the world would have advised her and her family to walk away from racing, but here she had really good people around her in rehab, and she's looking strong.
She's looking strong, yeah. All right, Johnny, last question for you. And I know this is a question that you get a lot, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Hypothetically, if someone were to come to you now and say, Johnny, we've got a competitive ride for you in MotoGP, would you consider it?
Well, not until after 21, because I'm contracted until then. But of course, I would. You know, if it was
Yeah,
a competitive bike, of course I would, because it's. But you know, that's a very. I think it's a very, like you say, hypothetical question, because
of course, of course.
it's so far from reality. I mean, I've won 6
Yeah,
titles in the bounce, and the phone never rang once. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah,
it's how it is. But I'm super happy here with Kawasaki. I mean, I've got such a good family around.
yes.
I don't mean that at home. Of course, I've got a great family at home. I mean the racing family. So
Mm.
it's a pleasure to come to work here, and um, I also feel like I owe these guys such a lot, because they give me the chance to be a world champion, and we're trying to ride that wave together of winning, and it's good fun at the minute. But who knows what's around the corner?
Who knows? Who
Yeah.
knows? Johnny, thank you so much. I really
Just,
appreciate you chatting with me. Have a lucky one and good luck for this weekend.
all right, cheers, man. Bye.
Cheers.